Earlier this year we took a Caterham R500 to the Millbrook Hill route and it spanked a Ducati Hypermotard, which we weren't really expecting. So this is very much part two of that. And as you can see here, we have a Skyline, a GTR Nissan to be precise. But its opposition this time is a bit more, well, it's a bit more serious really. And the chap that's going to ride it is Rob here.
Hello.
Rob, tell us a bit about this very leery piece of kit.
Ducati, obviously Italian, and it is very Italian as well, very exotic. Öhlins suspension, which is very expensive. Brembo brakes, sort of market leaders there. Same with the rear end, Öhlins suspension. It's a quality chassis basically that's been built on years of World Superbike experience.
How much poke?
About 150 horsepower at the back wheel.
And how much does it weigh?
About 180 kilos, so it's almost a 1-to-1 power to weight ratio.
My God. So that's nearly 1,000 per tonne?
Nearly, yeah.
Right, just to put that into context, this thing supposedly has an official 473 horsepower and it weighs 1.8 tonnes. So what's the power to weight ratio there?
I think that one's a bit better.
I think that's a lot better.
Yeah.
We're at Cadwell Park, as you can see. It's nice and dry, thank goodness. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do a time in the Nissan, Rob here is going to do a time on the bike, and then we're going to see which is quickest. I don't think the car's going to win this time. What do you think?
Not too sure. I think I might just have the edge.
Let's see. So car v bike part two. We thought we'd put the bike out first, just to see how near or otherwise I could stay to him over the lap. And as you can see, he really was going for it, back wheel and all past the pits. It's quite interesting because it was still just a little bit wet, so a little bit in favour of the car. But right away, as soon as we set off, it just became so obvious that the bike was miles faster than the car in a straight line. I mean, look at that. That's opened up a gap of about 30-40 yards in no more than 100 yards of track. He absolutely disappeared away from me down that back straight. And down this straight too, as you can see. I mean, he's just gone. And there's nothing that the GTR can do to stay with that bike there. But as soon as you introduce the corners, and even more than that, as soon as you start introducing braking areas like here, the Nissan would just come right back up onto his back tyre. And in fact, I was having to back off a bit not to go into the back of him. Same thing here into the chicane. Big braking area, and look, just take yards out of him. I mean, he's very committed through here. He's very committed everywhere. He's a nutcase, quite frankly. But a very talented nutcase. But watch this under brakes. I mean, we've just got him easily in the car. And although he's, well, watch the commitment here. There's actually a bit of air under, not just the front wheel, but the back wheel there. I still think the car was quicker. And at that point, I thought we did have a little bit in the tank. He had done a 1 minute 44 second lap. So then we swapped. He followed me. Difficult thing for him was just how much faster the car was braking. And his main problem was that he was accelerating like a nutter down the straights, catching me up hugely. But then, as soon as he came into a braking area, he couldn't stop anywhere near as fast as the Nissan. And he actually thought he was going to go into the back of me on a couple of occasions. His eyeballs were starting to bulge at a few points. So this is along the back straight again, and he catches right back up. Right back up. I mean, we're going into that corner in the car, I think about 130, 125, 130. God knows how fast he was going into there on the bike. But again, it's the corners that do the bike in. In a steady state through the corners, he was almost as quick as the car. But it was the direction changes, particularly into the gooseneck, which is just coming up in a minute, where he had to go quick left, quick right, where the car would just flick from one direction to the other. And because he had to kind of stand the bike up in the middle and then sit it back down and commit it to another corner, he just couldn't get anywhere near the car there either. But really it was under brakes. Bike couldn't do a thing about the GTR under brakes, and that ultimately is what happens when you got 4 contact points versus 1.5, or in his case 1 most of the time. So in the end it was close, but actually not that close. He thought the bike was going to go quicker. I thought the bike was going to go quicker. In fact, the car went 3.1 seconds faster. Game over. Okay, the car was faster overall, but you've got to hand it to the biker brigade. This is what happens when you come out of a second gear corner in a GTR and a 1098S gives it the lot. Goodbye, Mr. Motorbike.